pretty boy ever! He's the main star of the anime. Is he weird? Yup. Is he angsty? Yup. Is he hot AF? Let's go! Got a hit anime on our hands. Throws like a little bish. That's all I'm saying. What's up, bitches? It's Noisy Face back with Our Life Beginnings and Always. I hope you've enjoyed tuning in to watch this game every Tuesday. I've been binge playing it, if you couldn't already tell. But we're about to click this button, and I have serious art fear to click. And then summer ended, because it's been a fun trek. I'm gonna evolve to the next point of my life, and we're gonna see if Cove is still an angsty little bitch. So let's do it. Let's click it. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your mom's and Lizzie as the four of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Bitch, I knew, and he's called the Amazing Alexander. Get with it. Neither did I. Oh no, we're so dull. Let's get out more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How'd you figure out that one? 'Cause I know that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Oh, please, can we stay longer? We have to keep playing. It is almost over. Puppy Dog Eyes is only going to work with one mom, and that's the no glasses mom. Lizzie may not want to, but you planned on going home. I'm going to be like, it is almost over. Let's go with that. You tried to be subtle about your little mumble, but you saw Mom look down at you from the corner of her eye, and you knew she heard. Yeah, it would be evil not to let us play till dinner. Weren't sure evil was a fair word choice, but nodded anyway. At times like this, you had to back each other up. Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot onto the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well, oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory. All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Aw, so much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Oh, maybe I could be on the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? Don't I get to say, well, no, it's Lizzie. You never get to say anything that she does. Made my own plans. We can't go far. I'm going home. Well, we can't go far. And maybe I should make my own plans and not include her. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do. But what were you going to do? A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? Well, Jesus, Jackie, I can't control the weather! That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. I'm gonna stay outside. I don't gotta go inside yet. Girl, you just threw a big fit about being out here. Jesus! You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky and the soothing sound of the waves won out. You strayed off the path, grinning at the feel of sand quickly filling in the empty space in your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but eventually you grew bored. How else could you enjoy the remainder of your time at the beach? Look for seashells, draw in the sand, and roam around. Well, roam around sounds just as boring, so I'm gonna look for more seashells to add to my crazy collection that I have as a little child me. You walked to the shoreline, carried in any debris that washed up. Most of it was just seaweed, rocks, and trash, though now and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out to you until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of the family back home. Not too much farther down, you spotted a familiar green head of hair, moseying along the shore. Kept going, you wanted to see what Cove was up to. Let's see what Cove is up to. Curious, you strayed off your path and walked over to him. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back and then tossed it out into the water. I was impressed at how far it got. A good toss, it was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care. Rock sunk kind of like a rock. I fell back down. Again, I want to go with the sass, but I'll just be like, wow, Cove, you're so strong. Throw my rocks, but not in my face. You can't skip rocks in the ocean. What are you doing? You looked for your own rock. I'm gonna look for my own rock. Deciding to join Cove, you searched nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw too. Cove jumped a little when he noticed you and gave a shrug and a smile, realizing you sort of forgotten to announce yourself. You found a shell that would suit your purpose, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. Well, yeah, I'm not good at throwing shit, and it's a shell, so, you know, there's that. When you looked over at Cove, he didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face. It's not fair. I had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it off? How did you get it? I want to know how he got it. That's what I'm gonna ask. I was jet skiing. God damn, are you like motherfucking Bond villain at 7? Wonder you're angry all the time. Really? That's not fair. Cool. Your eyes widened. You hadn't heard the whole story yet, but the picture in your head was already sort of scary. He then continued to explain. I crashed. Well, no, you motherfucking Einstein! He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result. That's not an explanation at all! That's not how anything, God fucking, why do we even talk to you? It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski. Oh, he's not. There's more to this tale. Cove let out a huff, flopping down into the sand. Can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Liz. My dad said something about that. So why don't you want to go? It's nice as far as schools go. You'd only ever been to one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Yeah, school's school. I'm with you on that. School's school. Then again, he'd have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arms around his knees as he drew them to his chest. Heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized his eyes were wet. You weren't sure what to do. It felt weird to just leave him here, crying. But what could you say that would help? You frowned a little, starting to stand. Okay, well bye then. Bye-bye! Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he'd bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. You settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? This can be your home. It'll be alright. Well, I'm not going to tell him it'll be alright, because I've told him that before, and he doesn't care. I don't think he hates it here. It's a really nice home if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arms around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not gonna leave too, right? You'll still be around. The question was a little surprising. Of course, or I don't know. Like, I guess I'm gonna stay. We're gonna go with that. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? One hopes. you just wake up tomorrow and the moving van's there and you're like, well, shit! After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. You had to say swimming did sound fun, even if it was already getting chilly out. Cove smiled, then looked back at the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. He spared a glance over at Cove. See, the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe it would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. The two of you sat quietly, taking in the sound of the waves, lost in thought. You started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound, the sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Had you guys really been sitting out here that long? You stood and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately, okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. In between. So, apparently there's more pages of this that I missed when I was customizing Little Me here for the first time. And you can actually put in, like, your clothing preference too, which is pretty interesting to me. If you have any birthmarks or scars, if you have freckles, if you have bracelets, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's put in some clothing preference here. I don't really have a specific preference, so we're just gonna check them all. Where you can change pure comfort. And I learned that from watching their Patreon page, and it wasn't actually obvious to me. I thought this would move based on the choices that you make, but you make it. So I think nervous indifference was a good idea. We've known him pretty long for the summer. Let's see what I can change this to. Relaxed indifference. Direct indifference. And that's it. I'm going to say relaxed indifference. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go. Can I adjust my interest? Oh, I totally can. Relaxed indifference. Relaxed fondness. Is that all I could do? Relaxed crush. I don't have a crush on him yet. He's weird and angsty. So let's go. Relaxed fondness. Let's start there. That'll be fun. August ended. September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. We weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying at Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was all right, but kept his distance from other kids, from what you saw anyway. Originally, he treated you like everyone else, passing by as if you didn't know each other. But as the years went on, the two of you acknowledged each other more and more. A friendship had started to grow. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. Oh, I'm sure he's ecstatic about that. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too. For different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He had said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. You weren't sure how well it worked in changing Cove's thoughts on the town, yet it might have been part of the reason you and Cove ended up growing closer. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents, and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Still, you worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. Well, I should fucking hope so! If it's been years! Goddamn! It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's cheeks flushed with shy pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did in gym and other athletic situations. Over the years, he became more quiet and reserved. You didn't usually see him talking to other people. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long, long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the farther away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her Mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for that word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on anyone calling her Elizabeth. So you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work, if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed, in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into new normal. Then before you knew it, school was over, and summer vacation come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. Where the fuck is my motherfucking sheep? I would have kept my motherfucking sheep. I'm just saying, I want my sheep back. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in. I do that. Wide awake, about to head out and enjoy your time off. I'm probably gonna say sleeping in. Like I said, I do that. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding into your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow, get up. Go away. You pretended to still be asleep. You got up. You started to fake snore loudly. You said, "Morning, I'm gonna fake snore." You didn't get out of bed and instead made some obnoxiously loud and totally phony sleeping sounds. It was pretty annoying, but she had bothered you first. Not funny. Get up now. I'll come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your friend's at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, like say thanks or whatever. So come on already. Her voice, like, it just, no, that's a really good voice for her, I think. Be right there. Okay, fine. Really, that's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. I'd probably be like, cool, that's cool. I'm coming. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly fit in the frame. You were tall. I am not tall. Went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Comfortably, I'm average height. Lot of open real estate. You're pretty short. Oh, I have trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mirror. You're very short. I'm pretty short. I'm gonna go with pretty short. You could relate to Derek and how it felt to be smaller than people thought you ought to be. Your shortness seemed even more drastic when compared to Cove, who was unusually tall. You liked your height, you weren't sure how to feel about it. You were kinda, I've never had a problem with being short, so I'm gonna go this one. It suited you well, in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to, so this worked out in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Step 2. Second chance. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face. Good morning, French fries. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over your shoulder. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so at your height, you were absolutely tiny in her eyes. You let her do it. You happily let her do it. You tilted your body aside to dodge. You pushed her back and laughed. You pushed her back and groaned. I'm going to let her do it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. You stood by patiently and indulged your Ma's wishes. She gave you 2 small taps on the crown of your head. Ah, you're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race. Yes, philosophical me. Life is not a race, Mother. Don't pat my head. Morning. I was going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. What did we get? I think I'm just gonna say morning. We're just gonna leave it good, neutral text. That's all? You really are a sleepyhead right now. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you'd come to know him to be. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead, it was carefully cut fruit. I was gonna say, I see a motherfucking Paw-Poo fruit in there. We all know where that leads. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Cove smiled slightly at the sight of you. The sting of his goofy errand he was clearly embarrassed to be on eased. Hey, French fries. You earnestly grinned back. It wasn't weird at all, like it used to be when you were kids. As time passed, the two of you started to enjoy each other's company. Now, you actually considered him a good friend and not someone you were forced to be around by your families. Hey, it's really nice to see you. Yeah, you too. And you were certain he meant that agreement. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the two of you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. And with that, the gift was accepted. Well, that's everything. Though he said that, he made no move to go. You could tell he was reluctant to. Thank you, thanks. You're cute sometimes. I don't even have that motherfucking game right now, so. Did you tell your dad we love the gift? Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had. Though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was nice, he was funny, he was pretty weird. You didn't like him. He was great. He was great and kind of handsome. That's not gonna be weird in the future at all! He's sort of funny. I'm gonna go with that. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. I don't know who this is, so we're gonna wait and see who it is, and then we're gonna give them a voice. You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door into the neighborhood street. It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road, and he ran up to you. You were happy, you were confused, you were displeased. I'm gonna say happy, because, like, he's my friend, right? Old Derek Suarez. Derek was certainly a welcome guest in your neighborhood. It was a pleasant surprise whenever he showed up. Oh, okay, he's gotta be like a jock kid. How did jock kid sound? Hey, guy! Hey, gal! I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there! Should have figured you'd be at French Fires' place. Did you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This? It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but it's made out of fruit. Just gonna state the obvious to my friends in the street here. Nice. Can I have some? Sure, we can share. I haven't even tried any yet. It's a gift for my family. I can't give it to you. Maybe later. I'm gonna go with maybe later, since that's, like, not terribly rude. Derek grew more excited by your words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head, as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came out here because I needed to say something big, man. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Are there there's a shortage of children here? Like, there's me and, like, my 5 people that I know in Sunset Bird. Cove was surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age has moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. No, man! The new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Man, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses. He was pretty small. He seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave, man. You blinked. Slowly, you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove. When you first got here, anyway. Does it? He shook his head, dismissing the thought from his mind. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. But what do you say, man? Let's go find Cove's look-alike. We should all meet him. Look, you don't look very inviting in this picture, Derek. You look like you're gonna blow up his house or something, man. Man! I'll do it. Sure. I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned. Then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going in that direction, man. Nothing else needed to be said. 3 of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, picking up the sand as he placed it. It was true. He certainly seemed upset. But you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No. With his erratic movements and scrunched-up expression, he came off angry. You started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if you left him alone and let him sort it out himself. You shared a look with Cove. He was equally reluctant to start up a conversation. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy, "Hey man, get over here!" Oh wow, whoa! This kid is so pissed off! The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper into his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong, hostile energy still radiated from him. What? What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name, man? Jeremy! Was that it? Oh, I changed his voice entirely, goddamn. No, man. Derek. That's French Fires and Cove. We're just walking around and saw you. Want to say hi, man? There aren't a lot of kids of our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so you know, cool to see someone else is here, man. Strangely, Jeremy grew more furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
Oh, his voice don't sound like that though. It's just not British. Yay, me. My parents. They're the ones that brought me. I didn't walk to this town. No shit, Jeremy, really? Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff, man. It's not bad. That earned a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation, probably, either. Man. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time. A chore. My parents' family's nearby. We just had to come and see them. Ah! They're your parents' family. Doesn't that make them your family too? Oh, you guessed, Jeremy. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else, man? No! Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home. But I'm not allowed to be by myself. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm a kid. You kept quiet. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, it must suck being forced to do something you don't want to do. We just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining at us. Calm down, you don't have to yell so much. And who peed in your cereal this morning? I've never said this phrase to anyone, and I feel like I should in my adult life. But I'm just gonna say, we just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining at us. That's where I'm gonna go. Oh, wow! Did you decide to talk to me, Did I ask for that? No. Did I want to come over and start flapping your gums at me about being dumb and stuff? No. Now you're gonna whine that isn't what you wanted. Too bad. It's not my job to care. You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. Two of you aren't similar after all. Jeremy must have had good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed. Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. God, Jeremy, why are you so mean? Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on, man. What? No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are so cool. Oh, how can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? That is something I would say to somebody, but let me just see the other options. Don't listen to him. They're really unique and special. Well, they are kind of silly. Apologize to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. I'm going to insult his haircut. Go for it, girl. Yep. It's embarrassing and awful what my parents made me. I won't have to have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those things. Maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he looked less dumb with no eyebrows. No one looks less dumb with no eyebrows, Jeremy. Roll my eyes, cross my arms, shake my head, pat Cove on the shoulder. It's on, Jeremy!
Hold me back. Let me at him.
I grinned. Well, I'm not going to come at him, brah. He's just like a whiny little kid. So I'm going to go with shake my head. That's where I'm going to go. It was pretty clear no words would penetrate Jeremy's armor of rage. You still couldn't hold back your displeasure from his behavior. Wow. What's wrong with you, man? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice. Whoa, what's wrong with you, man? This is dumb. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid, man. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping to the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do. The socks! Literally how his voice sounded in my earpiece here. Sucks, man. I was hoping we could meet someone fun. Hang out, maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But, you know what would really improve the day, man? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he just used a hand to point. Right at the fruit arrangement you were still holding. Was I holding that the whole time? Let me just... walk with this everywhere. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Yeah, let's just eat it. I don't need to save it. Psh! Eric perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. Are you sure, man? You nodded with an eager grin. He plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Took a pineapple, took a grape. Took a strawberry, took a melon. Strawberry, bitches, that's where I live. Strawberry was bright red and beckoning you. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing, man! Cove continued munching on his, making a small noise with his mouth full. Hey, you two remember the Land Before Time? The fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars, man. I literally said it was Palpu fruit, Derek, okay? Don't copy me. I'm the cool one. Tree stars. Yeah. Chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it, man. And there was that scene with the pretty trees, and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome, man. I love that movie. I've never seen it. How could you have never seen Land Before Time? I didn't like that. That movie's for kids. Fuck you. I will watch Land of Time right now. Eating big leaves looks good. Should I worry about you? Do you think things taste better when they are shaped like stars? Well, I would say that. I'm gonna say I love that movie, because I would probably say I love that movie. Me too, man. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it. It did help you feel better. Eating it all hadn't really made you feel better. Eating things makes me feel better. Derek was right. It was so good you were always brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, French fryers. Yes, Cove, how can I help you? The two of you met eyes casually. That was pretty cool, what you said back at that guy. Oh, thanks. Just saying what I thought. Couldn't really call him a little prick asshole, because that was one of my options, but you know. Derek chimed in with high spirits. You totally owned him, man. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least somebody is around to tell him what's what. Yeah. Derek leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, you both ready for summer break, man? Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Are you? How's someone supposed to be ready for break? I'm gonna go with yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same, man. Feels like there's a lot to plan for. What about you, Cove? Are you ready, man? I think it depends. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Hey, French fires! You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Mom said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over you, arms folded. So, where is it? Well, it's gone. What do you mean by gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers, dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open, and the tone of her voice rose. Seriously? French fryers? What were you thinking? It's supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with a delivery boy, this was up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave you a bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusation. Sorry, get over it. Well, the morning's been a disaster. We were hungry. It wasn't us. A seagull came down and ate it while we were looking. Seagulls, poke your knees. Oh no, man. Think I hear the mean kid coming back. Better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around. What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. I'm gonna run. I'm scared of her. Without a word, you got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. You're so immature. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and she'll live to see another day, man. Exactly, but we should keep moving. Yeah, for now at least. Victory. My moms are gonna be mad. Just victory! You threw your arms up in celebration. You chuckled together, walking farther down the beach, side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You had gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. 3 of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's gonna come over a lot. The 2 of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too. But now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee spent time together. She was your only friend who was a girl. Being family helped make you close, but you had a lot of girl friends. I don't think I have a lot of girlfriends now. Where's evidence to prove that? I'm gonna go with the top one. You weren't all that close with any of the girls your age, but you had plenty of other friends. You didn't really have a lot of other friends either. I mean, I got a good amount of friends here. They all just happened to not be girls. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ears. Lee finally, who is it? Noisy face resident, French fire speaking. Yes! Go, you go, girl, you go. You were greeted by a distorted, high-pitched giggle. Why do you sound so weird? Mom answers the phone like that sometimes. It's supposed to be polite. You should go with hi. That was something a robot would say. There was static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff. We get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. Your moms were unfair, thought that made sense. You didn't like it, but it had to be that way. No, that makes sense to me. You don't lose things. It was nice to keep things in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way upstairs, smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. All right, I'm here. Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. Wouldn't I still using a home phone, girl? My moms would be able to stop us if they wanted. Lee laughed. You didn't put a damper on her imagination. Then you'd have your own phone too. That works. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not going to get one until I'm all the way in college. That's when I got my first cell phone, girl. I'm just saying. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and your ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over. Have to choose whether or not to go to college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Studying didn't come easily. Worked about as hard as most people and got pretty average results. You never tried much, but you still didn't do that bad. Didn't bother in school. Your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes came easily. You worked hard for your excellent grades. I mean, I didn't have like excellent grades, but I didn't have bad grades. Let's go average. Let's go there. You guessed that was reasonable enough. Felt a lot of pressure to get higher grades than you did last year. Hope to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. You were confident your grades would remain great. No plans on getting excellent scores. I'm gonna go with confident. Could definitely turn things around from here on. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. Sounds so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. I look forward to going back. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. It's so awful I hate going. Come on, too scary not to think about it. Vacation. I wouldn't really say any of these, but I'm gonna go vacation, I guess. Yeah, everybody in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers, too. Though, I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some things there. You can just do more when school is out. Learning new things can be cool. Gym, oh god, who likes gym, you insane person. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. Cafeteria lunches at my school could be better. There's nothing good about my school. Easiest to hang out with people not in your neighborhood. I'm gonna go with that. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Yeah, she agrees. Learning new things can be cool. Gym is pretty great. Quit trying to force gym on me, game. God. Yeah, learning new things can be cool. That's where I'm gonna go. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people. Okay, so you're just gonna keep giving me the same options then. So I'm gonna say that's all. Thanks, folks. And that's pretty much everything that's great about school. Okay, point taken. Now, I decree that the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Oh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? First thing that comes to your head. I want to spend time with people. I want to get art supplies. Reading. I want to catch up on movies and TV. Probably spend time at the beach. I don't want to do anything at all. It's vacation. Man, it's going to be between like art supplies, reading, movies, and TV. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm going to say art supplies. New art supplies. I can't wait to try them out. I can't wait to see what you make. You lean back in your bed, settling in, as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd see her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today. We met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Yeah. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Creepy, mean, weird, kind of interesting. He was motherfucking mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always running around. They're both boys, you know. I mean, that is true. It's not the same. They are not always around. I'm not the one who invites them. I wasn't able to say anything to that. I would probably say, like, that's true. That's true. I would probably say that. Lee laughed at your affirmation, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated sister. She flung open the door, a frown etched on her face. How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up! Hey, gotta go, I'll see you soon. Sigh, I said goodbye. Sorry for being long, I'm still using it. No! Get out of my room! I'm gonna go with, like, sigh and say goodbye. Lee, I have to go now. Okay, see you soon! Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi, too. You barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in its wake. That was only one way to end the first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, as you laid in bed wide awake. Your windows rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over it with worried brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were scared, confused, annoyed, or curious. Probably confused with a hint of scared, so I'm gonna go confused. What had caused that noise? There's a motherfucking boy down there throwing rocks at my window. I'm just gonna call it right now. Frowning, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You might as well find the reason behind the disturbance. To utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? Ocean eyes. Anyway, you squint. Will someone do that? Will someone take, like, the Billie Eilish Ocean Eyes song and, like, edit it to moments of Cove? Because I would watch the shit out of that. You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out farther than others, so theoretically it wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could do it didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. He's not just throwing rocks at my motherfucking window. He's climbing up my house to my motherfucking window. I'm a big deal, I'm just saying. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved it at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove climbed over the ledge, releasing a breath once he was safely inside. Hi, French fires. What are you doing? What's up, Romeo? I so badly want to say that. What are my other things? This sure is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Is everything okay? What happened? Don't jump to conclusions. You're lucky I didn't start screaming. Amazing, my dreams came true. Well, that's creepy, so I'm gonna go with what's up, Romeo. That's what I'm gonna go with. Nothing good. I wanted to see you. I figured this was the only way. If I ring the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. Didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean. But that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? You shouldn't have done that. Eavesdropping is bad. Don't be dropping no eaves, Samwise. I would have done that too. I'm not gonna comment. I'm just gonna let him go. You tell me the whole story, Cove, and then we'll talk. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too. No, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come home and stay with us. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dipped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. So what did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before, they'd barely stay in the room long enough to have lunch. Now they're going to be together again? All three of us, after all this time? Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused. I'm freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way. French fires, it's so tightened and his eyes became misty. You shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. It is hard to deal with. Yeah, I'm probably going to go with that, but we can deal with this. The collective we. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. Yeah, that's a lot. Didn't know what to say. Yeah, I'm just going to tell him it's this first option. That's the best. Cove looked uncomfortable with the whole situation. He didn't want to have to open up like this. Thanks. Sorry for dumping this on you. I didn't know what to do. You were the only thing I could come up with. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You'd woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude. As if it all wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated, hard, different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? French fires? The sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. And I meant it. Yeah, I'm okay. And I didn't mean it. No, I'm not. I don't know. Who, me? I'm more worried about you. Wow, things are kind of bad for everyone, huh? I'm gonna say I don't know. That is a common thing that I do, and I'm gonna do it. I get it. At least I think I do. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He had come here, conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I don't want to talk about this anymore. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arm. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? You can stay tonight, but we shouldn't make a habit. I've got a flashlight and some cards. Are you in? Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. I would probably say this middle one and not make it hella awkward. You tilted your head, waiting patiently for his answer. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight, somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never wanted to undo. Who would have thought Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't in the beginning. You had kept your distance, and so had he. Now, you considered him to be one of your closest friends. Damn, Cove! Back the fuck off, okay? We're playing cards! Jesus! You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. You smiled gently, you put a hand on his shoulder, you patted his back, you hugged him. You took his hand in yours, or you nudged him with your foot. What would I do in this situation? Well, I'm gonna go with hug. Let's do it. It's gonna backfire terribly, but I'm gonna do it anyways. You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped, even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to make out what it was. When you pushed back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilled and broken often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that two of you would have to part ways, and you knew that Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your tan skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember falling asleep. Cove had crept through the window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. Till your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left! He was still there! In the morning! Cove, you laughed out loud, you jumped out of bed, you froze. I would probably freeze and be like, shit! What do I do? Your muscles refused to move an inch and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out he had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big, big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you willed your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. Whispered in his ear, you shook his shoulder, you poked him in the face! You tucked his hair, you threw a pillow at him! I'm gonna be like, get up, bro! After giving him a firm shake on the shoulder, Cove's eyes flew open and he woke with a start. He scrambled out of the way as he abruptly jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly and faced you indignantly. What was that for? Shut up! You're getting in trouble, goddammit! The situation dawned on him too before he even finished the word. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind. Oh, his voice did a little cracky! I love this game. This game is so genuine. Oh my god! I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's gonna be alright, we're gonna get in trouble. Calm down. Settle down before moms hear you. Like, it's gonna be alright. There's a reason to be panicked, but it's gonna be alright. I'm pretty, 85% sure. You just need to leave before anyone notices you're here. If they know, we would have heard about it already. Cove nodded. His shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Right. Bye, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks, again. You're a good friend, French fries. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled in off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with a salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. I wish him luck, rallied him to keep going. Suggested he sneak out the door instead. Well, that's bad. Don't do that. Urged him to hurry up. I'm gonna wish him luck. Good luck with your climb. Be super careful! You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed, till his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as you could go to try keeping watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped to the ground. He threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your windows, deciding there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Put on slippers, checked in the mirror, made my bed. I never make my bed. I also don't go downstairs and put on slippers. I'm gonna be like, yeah, but just left. I'm just about this is me. It was too early to do anything else. You took the stairs slowly, attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. "Morning, Elizabeth." She looked over at you immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. "Why are you being so weird?" You hadn't done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and her lips pursed together even tighter. French fires?" Shrugged it off. You clammed up. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Sorry, you excitedly blurted it out. You thought, I'm not gonna tell her, because she's a bitch, and she's gonna get me in trouble. So I'm gonna be like, wouldn't you like to know? That's what I'm gonna do. I would. That's actually why I asked. You shrugged, noncommittally, determined not to tell her a thing. Further suspicious squinting occurred while she waited for something. But ultimately, she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out of the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were actually glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they had made: hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. A bit of everything, passed on some parts because they weren't things you liked, passed on some parts because you were trying to avoid meat. Oh, that's cool that it gives you that option. Passed on some parts because you're trying to avoid animal products altogether. Nice game, very progressive, but I'm not, so it was tasty. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do.